We've got a couple of tensions, Stugotz, that we could ride today. We've got a handful of people here, I'm not going to name names, who appear to be angry at Dan Patrick for big-timing our show. We can start there. Or, on a rare Greg Cody Thursday, Greg Cody has hit someone in sports with a good riddance.
Yes, he has. I was delighted to see it.
Once we've arrived at good riddance, I saw you and Cody working feverishly on a top 5 list of old insults that Greg Cody would use in a top 5. Which would you prefer? Would you want the general stomping anger of producers who feel the Dan Patrick Show is big-timing us, or would you like Greg Cody's good riddance?
I want angry producers.
Yeah.
We'll get to Greg Cody, but I would like to hear the angry producers being mad at Dan Patrick.
Okay,
yes.
so I have to be careful here, okay, because our relationship with Dan Patrick includes a partnership that has tickets still on sale at tipatinas.com because Wednesday of the Super Bowl at the great Tipatinas in Uptown. It really is a great bar. We are doing a Super Bowl partnership thing, but I, too, find myself on mornings when Dan Patrick summons feeling like I'm being summoned. Like in the morning, hey Dan, can you get over here? As if we don't have a show at exactly the same time that he does, and that I wouldn't be busy keeping the same hours that he does over the last many years.
And I just got a text that kind of grinded my gears a little bit too. I asked, can we make sure that this is a simulcast because we are, doing our show. I want to, if we're going to do this, let's both use it. And the response was, yeah, absolutely. Let's just make sure it's just one-on-one, though. Just the two Dans.
Wow.
Which is basically no Stugotz, no Greg Cody, certainly no shipping container. Please keep them out of this. And, yeah, I'm a little bothered by this, no doubt.
What are we going to do about all that? You know me, I'm all for the more the merrier, but we do different shows and have different temperaments. And I don't think he liked that in the last segment. I wouldn't blame him if he didn't like it. Last time we were on with him, Greg Cody very obviously came to the mic to me looking to talk. And I'm like, what, Greg? Did you want to talk about 50 Shades of Grey? And there was music playing in the background that was sensual, and I understand why Dan Patrick, a creature of habit, might not like the unpredictability of me not being able to read whether or not Greg Cody wants to talk.
Is it your bit to pretend like you're not the shit stirrer? Like, because you're gaslighting me right now.
Yeah.
Because your whole thing is like, let's put people on the air and fight. Like, I said that in confidence. Like, I'm a little annoyed with this DP thing because I've been trying to get him on.
I didn't name
the
you.
first words
I
out of your
didn't
mouth
name
is
you.
like,
I
we
didn't-
got a fight on our hands.
I didn't name you.
I love people fighting on the air. It's crazy.
I did not name you. I did not bring up your anger for any other reason other than you were angrier than I was about it.
Yeah, I told you that in confidence.
But
Dan.
I didn't say it was you who said it.
Yeah, but I didn't want it on the air.
I said,
Mike, nothing is in confidence. You know this. You've been working with Dan for a long time.
I'm on to it. Took me 20 years, but Dan loves having people fight on the air. He's like David Caruso in CSI. He just wants an explosion behind him, but he doesn't look cool.
I thought that Greg's idea to do the 50 Shades of Grey thing that Greg came up with was actually a really good idea by Greg. That was 100% his idea.
There you go.
Yep.
Thank you. You know what, Dan Patrick, he's full of himself. Let's be honest.
Yep.
Oh,
Wow. I think you should threaten to back out of the New Orleans event with him. And instead of Dan and Dan, just make it Dan. He can do it solo.
Right.
Because he's disrespecting.
Or find another Dan.
I think you're
Yeah.
greatly overselling what kind of leverage that actually is. I think Dan Patrick would be totally fine with this.
Stop that. Stop that. Stop that. I hear him chat to the noise, move too quick, can't stop for the talking. I hear him chat with the walking. Just too sharp with the prize. White girls let it tell me I'm awesome, yeah. Hot like fire on the pan. If you wanna touch me, please use caution. Cold like 0 degrees. I'm out the cage, gotta let out the beast. Revolutionary, gotta let out the streets. Locked in a cage, I'ma let out the sheets. We can't go on, man, forget my peace. You take the west side, take on the east. I'ma put him in the cage, never let out the. I hear him chat to the noise, move too quick, can't stop. for the talking. I hear him chat with the boys, man so tough when mans keep walking, yeah. Just too sharp with the prize, white girls better tell me I'm awesome, yeah. Hot like fire on the pan. If you wanna touch me, please use caution. Stop that. Stop that. Stop that.
Greg, are you ready with your top 5 list of old man insults, or is that not ready? Because good riddance is something that is not said by anyone under 70 years old, correct? That's not true, Jessica? You'll say good riddance, but
I said it yesterday.
Yeah, but you're a fossilized old person inside. Like, you're in disguise.
Thank you.
You're in disguise.
You do watch a lot of Columbo.
I mean, you're hiding. You're wearing a costume that pretends that you're not somebody with old person sensibilities, but you came in here today talking about a new CBS show.
Oh my God, it sounds amazing. Dan, have you seen what this new show is called?
No, I don't watch CBS except on Sunday morning, that magazine show that shows the sound of streams for 90 seconds.
Great.
Still
Sunday
good.
morning.
Just
Still
talking
good.
about that sound makes me feel like I have to take a piss. No, this new show, it's called FBI: CIA.
Oh, wow. I'm in.
2 different departments.
What does that mean?
What do you mean?
FBI: CIA.
Yep.
What else do you need to say?
This is the laziest show I've ever heard.
Are you surprised FBI got top billing? Or is that just grandfathered in because FBI is already a successful show?
It's a spin-off, so it's like NCIS New Orleans, NCIS LA.
Why isn't it Law and
Spin-off.
Order, FBI, CIA?
That's a great idea.
Well, it's a different universe
Yes.
altogether. That's
It
a
is,
Dick
Dan.
Wolf universe.
Right. It's just packaged differently. I mean,
Good riddance, Greg?
Yeah, good riddance. It's one of those classic phrases. It's a little bit of cliche, but not really. I think it's a classic. It stands the test of time. Good riddance. You can say it about a lot of people, about a lot of situations across the decades. I think it's, and I think it fits this situation. Wild guess who I was talking about. I mean, Jimmy Butler. Come on. This is ridiculous, okay? What's going on is absolutely ridiculous. I don't know what the rule is. I don't know what the Players Association allows, but to me, they should do more than suspend him. They should fine him. He's really thrown a wrench in the whole season.
Those are without pay. Those suspensions are without pay.
Okay.
And I think he makes like $500,000 a game. So those aren't small penalties.
That's fair. Okay, good. That's good.
You
Because
feel better
he
now.
deserves that. I do. I feel better
He's like,
now.
I have no problem.
We heard a phone. We
it
heard
was
a
mine.
phone.
It was mine.
I
I'm
pay it. Venmo.
admitting to it. Do I owe double today because
Wow.
Greg is in?
No,
it
it was
was
only on
I-
Tuesday. and
it was my phone.
It's
Only Greg.
It really is a surprise, though, for it to be a confession. Rare is the immediate Stugotz confession to a crime. Usually it's an assortment of moves. Don't go get cash, though, Stugotz. You got to
You
do
have
it
the
on
Venmo.
Venmo.
Yeah.
You got the Venmo
Oh,
fine bucket
okay.
now.
Yeah.
Don't worry, I
Venmo
got a QR code for you to scan during the break.
All right. Thank you.
A dedicated, straight-laced FBI agent and a street-smart CIA agent are part of a new clandestine task force charged with solving and preventing domestic terrorism in and around New York
Goosebumps.
City.
Goosebumps.
Amazing.
What's the name of that task force? Is it FBI, CIA?
Yes.
I feel like that's.
ridiculous.
I want to say it's wordy, but it's just letters.
I don't watch any TV show that's got a semicolon or a colon. No punctuation should ever be in the title of a TV show. Okay, that's for starters.
Right.
Let's think about this. What is the greatest TV show with punctuation in it?
MASH.
At Le
Whose line
Batard
is it
Show.
anyway?
MASH is perfect.
MASH,
Oh,
yeah.
MASH is
Yes.
pretty good. I don't know how much better we're
How
going to be.
quick was Roy?
Yes, Roy. Roy's been waiting all his life for that question. When can I reference
Finally, he's asking.
1978 television show MASH? He was ready to pounce with a swiftness and speed that was really uncommon for the proceedings.
Jeopardy.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Jeopardy!
Unnecessary. It really is.
What do you mean it's
I mean,
unnecessary?
why are you going to put an exclamation point after
Shouldn't
Jeopardy?
it be
Just to hammer it home.
It should
I
be a
mean.
question mark,
Jeopardy?
right?
No.
because all the
No, there's got to be an urgency around
Yes.
it. You have to
Yeah,
be in
but,
jeopardy.
No, but all the answers are in the form of a question,
Right.
which
True.
played to the theme of the game show rather than Jeopardy.
Right.
Shouldn't it just be what is Jeopardy?
Yes.
Yeah.
What is Jeopardy?
No, there needs to be an urgency to the Jeopardy. If you're saying the exclamation point is not needed here, then you're saying in general the exclamation point is not needed.
Yeah, but Trebek, God rest his soul, was not a exclamation point type personality, right? He was intellectual.
But
he was understated.
To Mike's point, though, the announcer, welcome to Jeopardy.
What about Who's the Boss?
Oh, great.
Oh, yeah, that's
Yeah,
a
another
good entry
good
right
one.
there. Good
Yeah.
job, you guys.
Are
Yeah,
you
yeah.
smarter than a fifth grader?
Well, I really was
No.
looking more for colons and sort of the fringe punctuations. You guys went straight to question marks and exclamation points.
Law and Order SVU, I think, would be the most famous of the colons. That show's been on
Yeah.
for an eternity.
Yeah, and I hate that every time I see it. And there's so many iterations of that colons are all over the universe now. There's never been a TV show with an ampersand.
Oh, no. Law and Order.
Law and Order,
Why would
yeah.
you say
Literally,
that?
I just
I'm sure there's
Wait a
been
minute.
plenty.
I thought that was the word.
No.
No, it's ampersand.
No, it's
Is
got an
that
ampersand.
right?
There's a lot of
Yeah.
Why
ampersand
did you
shows.
say there's never been a show with it?
To
Laverne
answer,
and Shirley.
to
what he
answer
thought.
Stugotz's question, who is Bruce Springsteen?
Why,
Excellent. X-Files.
Why, Greg, would you be so aggressive about saying there's never been a show with an ampersand when you don't know that? Like,
Yeah,
why
I
would
was
you
playing
be?
the odds?
Right.
I mean, come on.
You have to play them with confidence,
Right.
Dan. You do.
I mean,
Yes.
it's from the Stugotz textbook of how to do this.
Greg, are you anti-movie with punctuation too? Because there's a lot of great movies with punctuation.
Mission Impossible, right?
Home Alone
Airplane.
2, Lost in New York.
Yeah. I mean, it's too easy, I guess, right? Let's just use the language. Let's just use words. No punctuation. It's just a personal rule of mine. I'm not saying I'm right.
You are saying you're right. Put it on the poll at Le Batard Show, the same way you were saying you were right that there's never been a show with an ampersand in
Right.
it.
While we were talking about a show with an ampersand in it. Yeah.
At Le Batard Show, put it on the poll. Has there ever been a good show with a colon in the title? But you are saying good riddance to Jimmy Butler. You're calling him names.
I'm calling him a selfish player right now who quit on his team. I don't think there's any way to parse that. Is there? I mean, you tend to differ with me on, yesterday you disagreed when I said that he's the antithesis of the best traits of Heat culture. How can you deny that with what he's done? And in the latest club statement, they're not just saying that it's conduct detrimental to the team. They're saying it's insubordinate action.
Well, this part is interesting to me. This is the lone remaining part of this that's interesting to me until it becomes something that continues to escalate. Last week, Mike Ryan said something about Pat Riley in which he called him a little bit prideful. I will tell you that in my experience with Pat Riley throughout the entirety of his career in Miami, that after what happened to him on LeBron James, the specifics of the overt embarrassment, overt public embarrassment, something like that had never happened to a man whose public image has only had the hit of New York on it, which was very painful. The way that he left New York.
Yes.
When he's fighting with management, it becomes, you're a quitter, you're a scoundrel. And the reason he left New York is because he wanted this kind of power. He did not feel like he had this kind of power in New York. When he came to Miami, he got this kind of power. So I ask you, because I will say that something happened to Pat Riley in how it is that hurt that he had never experienced before in his life because of how the pride gets stung on, man, everyone thinks of me a certain way, and I just got turned upside down by a player and his friends who are now starting a $5 billion league and realized, no, we'll grab the lessons there and we'll take them with us and we'll do some stuff with that, and got played publicly in a way that everyone saw. I will say that having seen him go through that and having seen him really legitimately hurt by that I wouldn't be surprised in this circumstance if he finds the urge to be petty about, I'll send you to Utah. Like, you're not gonna win this with me If all the offers are equal, you're not going to be the one who publicly embarrasses me. Here's another suspension. Here's another suspension. I don't think that's a wise game to play with Jimmy Butler. I don't think the way that they're doing this is the way to do it if you want anything that maximizes return on Jimmy Butler. But I don't know for sure that the pettiness of being embarrassed this way wouldn't grab somebody in a really human way. And I'm saying that not having talked to him about it at all, just having covered the man for a while and realizing that this he does not like. Like, if you're going to put him in front of people for a power struggle, the reason the thing that LeBron hurt so much wasn't just that he took the titles with him and wasn't just the embarrassment, is that there was no move after. Like, there was no, I can punish him now. That's it. He's got his freedom, and there's nothing that I can do about this embarrassment. I would not want to work for that man after I've embarrassed him.
I just don't think he has that option.
Right.
Like, because, like, when Portland did this, refused to send Damian Lillard where he wanted to go, Lillard was a bit more desirable by a pretty wide margin.
Yes.
Than Jimmy Butler is presently. I don't know the teams that are interested outside of the one that's been reported in Phoenix, but this is not the same kind of situation. This is a very well-known malcontent that if you invite into your franchise, Miami's an outlier. It usually goes to hell way before that.
I'm just telling you that where all of these tensions reside, this is an unusual one. I'm saying throughout sports, it's an unusual one to have in this setting. Imagine Bill Belichick keeping a player he does not want to keep, who continues to desecrate the Patriot way in a way that makes the local columnists call him quitter and selfish and celebrate that they're just going to keep finding reasons to punish him and take away money. And Jimmy's not going to want to work under those circumstances.
I believe that did happen with Tom Brady.
Right. He wanted him out like 2 years before he was actually out.
Because he wasn't falling in line with the Patriot way, and Brady wanted more rights.
Isn't this a bad strategy for Pat in general? Because aren't other players going to look at this and the treatment of Jimmy Butler at the very end here and be like, I don't want to play for an old, bitter guy who's still mad about something LeBron James did to him at the very end?
Yeah, I mean, we've seen that take. That's like a Paul Pierce take. It's an anti-Miami thing. I think given the players here, you can't hold Miami's history. I was just going to focus on Jimmy's history, but yeah, it's fair. It went sideways with Dwayne Wade. We had the happy ending, but he did leave, and nobody felt good about the way that ended. I think that would be fair.
Billy felt good about it. It happened twice. LeBron, Wade, Butler still came here. I don't see a world where someone's turning down $50 million to play in Miami if that were to come. But there are two parts of this that are different and interesting. We mentioned the Damian Lillard part. That was done during an offseason. Teams have a lot more flexibility. The fact that we're in the middle of a season right now with a new CBA that's made it really difficult to move big contracts means that you need 4 or 5 teams to participate. It means you need Bradley Beal to waive his trade clause to potentially go to a place that he doesn't want if you're going to send Jimmy to Phoenix individually. But while he was wearing those Phoenix Suns colored shoes that was against annoying. In the Heat's most recent game against Portland, Bobby Marks put out some really interesting statistics per Second Spectrum about Jimmy's hustle on the floor over the last several games. So he's attempted fewer than 10 field goal attempts in 4 of his last 5 games. In that 5-game stretch, no more than 57 points, 42 field goal attempts, and 14 free throw attempts. The last time that occurred in his career, 2013. He moved at a fast speed, according to NBA's Second Spectrum, just 5% of the time, which is the second lowest percentage in a game in which he's played at least 20 minutes this season. Took a shot on 14% of his touches, the third lowest percentage in a game this season. Passed the ball on 76% of his touches, tied for the second highest percentage in a game this season. So he has just been giving zero effort on the floor, and it's clear when he's out there.
Quantifiable loafing. I have to issue a formal apology. It appears that FBI is in the Dick Wolf universe.
Oh.
Yeah, and also this is a blind spot.
Prolific
Dick Wolf universe, the Dickverse, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
Also, just a gaping hole in my knowledge when it comes to all CBS shows. It appears, Jess was informing me, FBI is pretty huge.
It's like one of the most watched shows on television right now. It's averaging over 8 million viewers. So Yeah, the FBI would get top billing, Dan, over CIA. Whoever's disputing that, you're wrong. Dick Wolf, also the orchestrator of the Chicago, what would you call that, universe?
The Chicagoverse.
The Chicagoverse.
Yeah.
So
Chicago Fire.
So what you're saying
Chicago
is
Med.
because it's Dick Wolf, you're saying that it should just be Law and Order, Chicago, FBI, CIA.
Yes.
That we should just
Mash it all together.
Just
Yeah.
mash.
Well, MASH is
Yes, hey, how about that? Hey.
When you read the description of FBI, CIA, but I still don't totally understand what it's about. It's not FBI versus CIA, correct? Because I think I might
You have them
actually
like
playing-
taking each other on in a series of competitions.
I think I'd be more interested in
It's
that.
actually
That'd be
playing out
fun.
in real life.
It would be. It's a good idea by you.
FBI versus CIA. Now, that's a idea for the prolific Dick Wolf universe.
What is this idea, though? I still don't understand what the
They're
show
joining
is.
forces.
And they're joining forces to prevent domestic terrorism in and around New York
If you have
City.
to ask, Dan, it's not for you.
What are they doing?
Now, there's an FBI Sydney. How is that? I thought the FBI was just like distinctly American.
Like a jurisdictional situation.
They just wanted to film near the Opera House?
Freeze, mate.
Well, you seem to be really good at searching this.
The United States, like, we don't do stuff in other countries. We stick to our own country. That's what we're
Really?
known for.
Well, when we interfere with other countries, we typically don't send the FBI, do we?
Sorry, I was being sarcastic, and I think that maybe someone to my left thought that I was not.
America first.
Oh.
I wanted to ask you guys something that you do not see a lot of. And I would say that if you're not a fan of the team or the person, generally this is not going to be something that sports fans receive well, even though all it is a blunt truth honesty that most people aren't speaking out loud. Dan Hurley, the UConn coach, during a mic'd up moment, yelled at a referee in a moment of really, I got taken aback by the arrogance, even though I understand that this arrogance often exists in people. And I understand that anger is data, that it's information, that just sort of reveals things to people about themselves and others. Dan Hurley yelling at a referee, when I talk about, I need you to imagine what Pat Riley Petty feels like when you have had the career of 1,000 Dan Hurleys. And a referee turns his back to you, and that respect is met with saying to him, don't turn your back on me. I'm the best coach in the effing sport. Couldn't believe that came out of his mouth.
He has won back-to-back titles.
I don't disagree with him. Right. Can't believe it came out of his mouth.
That's a bar. I like it. I have to issue another correction and an apology.
Oh,
It's
no.
not FBI Sydney.
It's international.
No, it's NCIS.
Yes. Well, there is an FBI International.
Yes, there is.
But no, there's
Right.
How does that exist?
NCIS Sydney, which follows a fictional team of special agents from the Naval Criminal Investigative Service, NCIS, investigating crimes. The series set in Sydney, Australia, follows a joint task force that involves NCIS agents and Australian federal police officers working together on investigations involving American military personnel.
No.
So it's actually really NCIS AFP, Australian Federal Police.
And this is allowed because we have a naval station there.
Actually, the closest one is in Pith.
I think we need to rename a show in the Dick universe, NCIS, FBI, Law and Order, AFP Chicago.
Can't have enough acronyms.
Just put them all together and see if you get an entire demographic of my parents and Stan Van Gundy watching.
These are literally the most popular shows in this country right
know.
now.
Yeah.
Someone skeeted at me, how about a new show called NYPD Blue Chicago? I like that idea.
Just keep throwing firefighters and workers and CIA and FBI. Throw a couple of spies in there.
Miami Vice,
Put
Brooklyn.
Angela Lansbury in there somewhere.
What?
Just CBS.
Now, there's a show with Punctuation that is an all-time banger. Murder,
She Wrote. I was looking
I
was looking for the commas. I was hoping for commas. You guys went all. I'm still stunned by the exclamation point on Jeopardy being something that you guys object to. When I do believe that when a contestant finds him or herself in jeopardy, it needs to be urgent. It can't be question, is there jeopardy? It can't be period, there's jeopardy. It's got to be, holy shit, someone's in jeopardy. Like it needs the exclamation point. You're a writer. I figured you'd know that.
No, because Jeopardy begs a question mark. Because oftentimes you aren't sure whether you're in jeopardy. If I'm on a mountaintop,
I think you know.
If I'm standing near a cliff, am I in jeopardy?
Yes.
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 No. Yes, you
you're
are.
not. What you're not in jeopardy of is when you're on that game show. When the worst thing that could happen is.
There's a lot of hyphenated shows too, Greg. We've got Brooklyn Nine-Nine, Hawaii Five-0. I mean, what are you doing with hyphens?
I don't like hyphens.
X-Files.
I don't like acronyms in a title of a show. I don't like question marks. I don't like numbers.
Did you like MASH?
Just words. Just have words. Password was the first game show I ever loved.
Right.
I think it was Alan Ludden.
Yeah.
Wonderful game show host. It's a word. Password. No explanation points. They didn't call it PW as an abbreviation. There wasn't a colon. Password. Guess the word. Just simplify. Simplify. Mm-hmm. We're getting too complicated, too formulaic.
Get
with
back to
all
basics.
These numbers and acronyms, colons. Mm-hmm. It's just stupid.
You sound so much like Joe Biden.
I dig what you're saying, man.
Password.
Sitting around the kitchen table in Scranton.
There it is again.
Password.
Oh no.
My dad said, "Why can't shows be like Password again?"
It really is a bad impression.
Yeah, that's not good. That's not good, Greg. That's not good.
The kitchen table in Scranton.
The impression doesn't work without the Scranton. Why would you forget the only part of the impression that makes it an impression worth listening to?
Dad, sitting around the kitchen table in Scranton.
There you go.
Do you know what MASH stands for?
Medical asswipe shithole hospital.
What?
Nailed it.
First thing I could come up with.
You don't say.
What does it stand for? I'm not disrespecting whatever it really stands for.
I'm guessing the A is Army, the H is hospital, the M probably mobile because they were in Vietnam.
That's a good point by you.
Put it on the poll at Le Batard Show. Do you know what MASH stands for?
I guess the S can be shithole. I don't know what that one is.
The reason that I bring it up is because when you mentioned that you don't want any punctuation, I thought for some reason of the old television show Motorcycle Cops because we were talking about all this and
What's that about?
CSI, CIA,
Chips?
FBI is chips.
yeah.
That's
Classic.
right. That's right.
Yes.
Lowercase I.
Found a comma.
Punch.
Yeah,
Found a comma.
ridiculous.
Dr. Quinn, medicine woman.
Oh, wow.
That's not as good as Murder, She Wrote.
No.
But I don't.
It's subjective. That show's a banger.
Let me ask this question, and it may be a stupid one. I got to be honest. While I know that it should have a comma between the murder and the she, I don't think of it as having a comma between the murder and the she. I thought it was just Murder, She Wrote 3 words with no comma.
How would that make sense though, as like grammatically? It's Murder, She Wrote.
Right.
Understood.
She's a
wrote about
writer.
murder.
Definitely a comma.
You're right that it doesn't make sense grammatically, but also it would have a period at the end of wrote if we were trying to make it grammatically correct. Like, that's not what we were going
Jesus,
for.
I mean.
I know. I just thought it was Murder, She Wrote. I did not think of a comma being in there. I'm sorry. My apologies. I did not expect the punctuation conversation to break out around good riddance.
But you're saying if they're going comma there, they need to finish it off with a period.
If the effort is to be grammatically correct, yes.
Huh.
Meh.
Okay,
Yeah.
Understood.
Thank you.
Yes.
welcome.
Yes.
It should be She Wrote About Murder.
No, that's no fun.
Yeah.
No, that's wordy, and you seem to be objecting publicly to the idea of everybody's in such a big hurry that they've got to make it an acronym instead of just saying all of the words to make it convenient for you.
Yeah, I mean, sports teams could adopt that, and all of a sudden, they're no longer the New York Yankees, they're the NYY. Put an exclamation point on that. Yankees! Jeopardy! Yankees! Exclamation point.
Does
You gotta
Yes
draw the
Network
line
have an
somewhere.
exclamation point? I feel like it might. Also, when Murder, She Wrote and Magnum P.I. did their crossover, double commas in that situation.
I actually just came up with what I think is a decent idea for a professional sports team, which is put an exclamation point on your name. Make it Yankees exclamation point and create an entirely new marketing stream. Be the first, right? There is no team that has an exclamation point on its name, that punctuates its name with an exclamation point. But you're thinking you don't use it very often. I know that in writing it's frowned upon, that the exclamation point is a bit of punctuation that other punctuation looks at and says, you're too loud.
Yeah.
You're too much. You're
That's
not.
true.
You have no subtlety.
It's fake excitement.
It's not fake excitement.
It is in times.
It's just too overt. It's punctuation is meant to not get in the way. Exclamation point is a little bit look at me.
Also, when my wife texts me, the exclamation points in her texts are way overboard. Like there will be 5 exclamation points. Did you see this? And it's a question, but she'll put 5 exclamation points at the end of it. It's just, it's an epidemic, really. It's an epidemic that we're talking about.
Greg, she's excited. Whatever she's sending you, she's excited
Yeah,
about
I'm
it.
with my dad,
One
though.
exclamation point is necessary.
You also, if you have multiple sentences, they can't both have exclamation points. Like
Yeah.
something, you ever exclamation point the first sentence and then you write a second sentence, you're like, oh, this one deserves it more. So you go back and you take out the first
Exactly.
one and only have one because you don't want to. It's like you're shouting at someone if both sentences have an exclamation point.
I want to ask Greg and Stugotz something as people who are vigilantly and militantly against learning and new information. Because while Jeremy was talking, giving what could be seen as good empirical information on Jimmy Butler
If you say so.
for how you would quantify quitting, Stugotz muttered in my earpiece, numbers. So many numbers. And stopped listening to Jeremy entirely, even though Jeremy was giving facts that would quantify quitting, which I thought is something that people love to yell about in this particular endeavor that we do. Loved calling someone else a quitter. I think fans love, media people love to do that.
Yeah, and I rarely do it. So when I call him a quitter, I think I can back it up. And what Jeremy said, is it TMI? Of course it is, because it's like telling me that he's running 19.6 miles an hour instead of 21 miles an hour. You know, it's just my head explodes. But when the too much information is backing what I believe in, then
There we
it's
go.
necessary. It's necessary.
Then you like it,
information.
yes.
Thank you.
I've been talking with Greg and Stugotz about this for probably a decade, and I think I just end up being wrong, even though when it comes to content, people really want information right up until it's not information that they want. And to me, it's a bit confusing, because I would want anything that proves to me something that I suspect. But you guys don't want that information. I saw Stugotz actively stop listening on the second or third number that Jeremy gave, because the math, and this is an American affliction, the math is something he doesn't want to play with. He doesn't want math anywhere near his sports.
It's a combination of the numbers and the messenger. I don't care, by the way, how fast he's running, if he's running fast, how often he's running. I don't care. That's his job. His job is to run. Here are stats that I care about, Dan. He didn't smile during the pregame. He wore Phoenix Suns colors a couple of nights ago.
That was annoying.
And he sat a couple of seats away from any of his teammates. Those are the stats I care about. Quitter. That's it.
Here is
Fast, run
information
fast.
people really want, Dan. Alan Ludden was married to Betty White before he died.
Oh, wow.
Imagine that.
Did you know that,
Yeah.
Greg?
She got around, Betty.
Oh, come
telling
on.
you.
Man, that's
What
a
are you
power
talking
couple.
about?
Seriously.
Come on.
She was married a few times.
Yes, she was.
That's not an insult.
Baby.
She lived a life.
Hey, come on. Betty in it.
We should all be so lucky to live Betty White's life.
Put it on the
Goddamn
poll,
right.
Juju at Le Batard Show. Should we all be so lucky? She's not old at all, Jessica. Should we all be so lucky to live Betty White's life? And also, have you ever heard Betty White accused of getting around? Because that's the first time I've heard that accusation.
We could probably leave the second one off.
I'm asking if you've ever heard it, because I've never. Betty
You
White.
have heard it. You just did.
Yeah.
It's the first time. Betty White is an American icon. Betty White is one of the rare people who gets to be universally beloved. Her and Dolly Parton. I don't know if there's a third.
Yeah, but she wasn't always a lovable 90 years old. You know, I mean, when I say Betty White got around, I mean when she was a young woman, it's quantifiable. I don't say it as a pejorative. Okay, I don't say it as a. I don't look.
It is.
I don't look down on women
judged
who
as
choose to be
pejorative.
married several times. You know, it's fine.
Saying.
You know, got no problem with it.
Saying a woman got around tends to be viewed as pejorative.
Does
it's
it?
not It's well. Why say it?
Well, because Betty White, how many times was she married?
3 times.
3 times.
Okay,
She
that we
was
know of.
once to a man named
That we
Dick
know
Barker.
of.
Right.
Dick Parker?
Dick Barker.
Oh, Dick Barker.
Yeah.
Wow, what a name.
Not as good as Dick Wolf.
There's actually a website called who'sdatedwho.com. On here it says she's had 4 relationships, the 3 marriages you guys referenced, and she also dated Phil Cochran from 58 to 62.
There you
It's
go.
unbelievable.
Cocky.
That you went Cochran.
So I found another show with
got a type?
an
Dick.
exclamation mark in it called Just Men. Greg, have you heard of this show? Betty White was the host, or she started it apparently
was.
in the
bet she
80s.
did.
And it pitted 2 female contestants who were asked to predict answers to a series of yes-no questions posed previously to a panel of 7 male celebrities.
Wow. I had never heard of that. What's it called again?
Just Men, exclamation point. So
Oh,
you would
boy.
hate it.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
Cochran.
Dick Cochran.
Phil. No, it's Phil Cochran
Oh.
and Dick Parker.
Okay.
No, Barker.
Dick Barker. Yes.
Sorry.
I would have had a chance. John Wiener. Huh?
Then she dated an Alan Ludden and an Lane Allen. She was very
Steve Martin.
wild.
Not listening. Venmo fine bucket.
That's for you, Chris.
And we're going to start doing this. We're going to start paying this. We can't be asking for big sponsors to join us and then do the same stuff we've always done.
I'm waiting on a code.
I'm walking you out there.
Okay.
But Billy does this thing too. You guys
I'm
let
gonna
him get
pay-
away
look,
with it.
I'm
Cody,
gonna-
you.
I owe $12. I'm going to do it right now. I owe $12 from before, and I'm going to do it right now to get us started because we have not done this right with Venmo. So let's see here. I'm going to do it.
I
I'm
owe
promising
$10.
you.
Please don't
Okay.
reveal the name.
I'm not allowed, yes, to reveal the name because then all of a sudden our fans would be sending us all sorts of money, and we wouldn't want that under any circumstances. I am doing it right now. $12.
Wow.
Pay. And it's saying, what's this for? And I'm not telling you what's it for.
Just
What
put
do
an
I have to
emoji
say?
in there. It's all right.
I don't want to know.
Is
You
it?
have to put an emoji. It makes you can't just like have
All right.
an empty one.
All right,
And make it private because you don't want people like I hate it when people like just like let the world know that they just had ice cream.
So $12 it is. I'm in.
Oh, shit. Dan, you just sent me a deposit for $12,000.
Oh, shit.
This
Greg
is a very
Cody.
real thing that can happen.
Do you have a Venmo, Greg Cody? Do you have it installed and ready to go because you owe money and it's a new day around here? Once Venmo gets involved with the sponsorship of these things, we have to respect the sponsor. So what are you doing, Stugotz? Did you do it or not?
I'm waiting for a QR code. Mike's going to take me out during the break, and I'll send what I owe for today's fine. I think it's $4. So
I owe 10, I think, and we'll pay it. I love Venmo. Big fan of Venmo. My wife handles my Venmo affairs, so she's through her. It will be paid.
No,
for
we're
sure.
gonna do it before you leave here today.
I dialed 1-800 Venmo. Nobody picked up.
Greg, how do you feel about dollar signs in a title, like the $10,000 pyramid show, hosted by Dick Clark? I might add.
it's a great show.
Another Dick.
No, I don't like that either.
What are you talking about?
It's
I know, but
a
you love
dollar
that
sign.
show. I know you love that show.
The pyramid.
Yes.
I have watched it.
It's a good show.
It's a
I
great
Betty White
know.
was on that show.
I used to love Hollywood Squares,
Right.
which might have had an exclamation point, but didn't.
It's back now. It's back on CBS.
The Squares.
For like the 4th time.
Pyramid is now $50,000, is it not? Or the highest?
It's $100,000.
$100,000.
Inflation.
Yes.
Only place where inflation's keeping up.
Is that a Game Show Hall of Famer? Put it on the poll, Juju, at Le Batard Show. Is $10,000 or $50,000 or $100,000 pyramid a Game Show Hall of Famer? Because I think it is Mark Andrews, an immortal. But I don't think that everybody would think that. Because the immortals are Wheel of Fortune and Jeopardy and Family Feud. Like
Right.
once you get into that second tier of game shows, there tends to be a pretty big gulf between the first ballot Hall of Famer and somebody who gets in on the 15th pick.
What I love about the pyramid is I think it has the best way of settling if you're going to win big money or not. Like, I think there's a minute there where you're just intrigued because you want to see if this person can fill the entire pyramid before 60 seconds is up with the right clues, right? I think that's the best way of settling a game show.
The way that I assign Hall of Famers is if you're in your last round, am I watching? No matter what's happening, am I stopping what I'm doing? Like I will do this on Price is Right? If you're in the showdown portion of the show, or if you're spinning the wheel, I'm going to stop for a second. I'll do it with Family Feud as well. There aren't that many that you will do this with.
I hate the rounds that lead up to the final rounds in the pyramid. I don't like that. I just want to get straight to it. Straight to the $50,000. Yes,
I agree. We all love a pyramid visually. Pyramids are fun.
Yeah.
Is that true?
Yeah, pyramids are fun.
Put it on the poll at Le Batard Show. Do we all love a pyramid?
Yep. Dollar Bill's got a pyramid on it.
I think it's a good shape, right, Greg?
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's it's wonderful. I would love to visit a pyramid in Egypt. Supposedly, Egypt does not have the most pyramids. There's another country. I can't think of which one. I think it's in South America.
That seems impossible.
It'd be a better stat if you knew the country.
It really would, yeah. But I'm giving you what information I know, which is a little bit enlightening. Because if you ask 100 people what country has the most pyramids, knee-jerk, everybody says Egypt, right? But I think it's like Bolivia or someplace.
It's Sudan.
Sudan.
Yes.
There you go. Okay.
Wrong continent, but that's okay.
Wrong continent. Not South America at all. But, a lot of deserts.
You would have lost that game of pyramid.
Is it Sudan or the Sudan?
Sudan.
Are you sure?
With an exclamation point.
And reached unattainable goals.
I said he was done 10 years ago when he shoved it down my throat.
He played the Jets twice a year and always ripped out their souls.
And just like that, he left us all wanting more. He's a certified gold.
You're the greatest of all.
Huzzah! After an incredible season, the big game is finally here.
Ugh, have fun. I don't even care who's in the big game, unless it's my Steelers.
Come on, Jess. A game they call Super and a town they call Tinsel await. Which oversized behemoths will control the trenches? Which variety of barley wheat lager will woo the consumer? Which 90s rapper will solicit the most yearning nostalgia? There's oh so much to decide.
Cheer on, I don't get the show. Oh, tell me, you got the reasons. You got the reasons. Take me there. Take me there. Just take me there.
The Super Bowl, 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 the Super Bowl.
I hope you're starting to see the light. Regardless of who's in it, it's a spectacle.
I think I'm starting to come around. Like, for instance, everybody wagering on a team. Chris Collinsworth sliding into your screen. I was too caught up in being a fan, instead of just shotgunning beers and betting the Rams. Oh, tell me,
everything you need. You can get it all. Pat McAfee. Writings on the wall. What's it gonna be? You'll see Marcia Falk and Mariucci. Anything you want, everything you need. You can get it all from Dominique. Writings on the wall. What's it gonna be? You can get it all. Kyle Brandt's Hemmings.
Going out west for the Super Bowl.
Going out west for the Super Bowl.
My team's not there, but I'm gonna show.
My team's also not there, but I'm gonna show.
Everybody knows it's bound to be.
Everybody knows it's bound to be
The greatest night for you and me. Come on now. Take me there. Take me there. Just take me there.
The Super Bowl, 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 the Super Bowl.
I'll spend all night out in Venice. Then make castles in the sand. Santa Monica's calling, but I'm here to cover the Rams. I'll stay in and avoid chateaus. If I booze, then I'm on Skid Row. Just one drink to begin. Not like that's a big sin. Just one beer, then we're gonna go to the Super Bowl.
Now, Mike, you know we're here to cover the big game. It's a time to be professional and avoid all the temptations the City of Angels may have to offer. Ain't that right, Jess and Kate?
That's right. We're just here to ask quirky questions to grown men wearing their full uniforms without pads in a convention hall.
Oh my God, is that George Clooney?
It is!
Baby, one scotch at the Roxy.
Come on now!
One shot at whiskey, a go-go.
There we go!
Now we're drinking to avoid temptations, but a job to do. Professionals with a drink or two. Just a thimble of gin, and then I'll be locked in. After gin, then we're gonna go to the Super Bowl. To the Super Bowl. Super
I mean, we have been locked up for a while.
Yeah, there's no rule against covering the big game and enjoying La La Land.
Wait a minute, it's the Walk of Fame. So much to see instead of the big game. And the traffic is bad on La Brea. So come on, join me in popping tequila.
I'm just here to drink and find Lewis Hamilton.
Hey, guys.
Kyle Brandt.
You gonna shotgun a beer or what?
I don't feel so good. I am genuinely fucked up right now.
This episode of the Dan Le Batard Show with Stugotz is presented by DraftKings. DraftKings, the crown is yours.
This is a clear-cut end to the Butler Heat relationship.
This relationship has been over.
I want to get my joy back. I'm happy here off the court, but I want to be back to somewhat dominant.
Can you get your joy back here on the court?
Probably not.
Jimmy Butler's got a trade he's demanding, doesn't want to play for Spo. For 7 games now he's out, he's suspended, vibes are at an all-time low. Though we can't forget when Jimmy made the Heat a finals team. He's become a menace, Riley's gotten way too old for his shit.
Jimmy Buckets ain't just gonna stand there in the corner. And yo, he's 35, no, he ain't getting any younger. He's lost a couple steps, no longer alpha or a killer. Best review the situation that you caught up in. He's done this almost everywhere else that he's been. How can we be surprised that he's doing it again? Now we can test the market for an old malcontent to wanna talk or think about all of the money that we spending. Says he'd pay for Atlanta, just not the Heat. Maybe even for Toronto, just not the Heat. Send his ass to Indiana, just not the Heat. Could even trade him to Utah, just not the Heat. Could get his joy back in Denver, just not the Heat. Could sell his coffee as a Clipper, just not the Heat. Maybe a Buck or a Blazer, just not the Heat. He says he'll play anywhere, just not the Heat.
I know I keep saying that people are sick of this Jimmy Butler story. I just want to put in front of you the idea, because I don't know how the rest of you have felt about what are your greatest public embarrassments, the worst you have ever felt in public because people are laughing at you. The reason I bring it up is because of the part of this that I'm interested in most now, which isn't, Jeremy was saying during the break to me, he was saying it's crazy to see someone burn up all of the collateral they have with the fan base at the end. And I'm like, it's what Damian Lillard wasn't willing to do.
Right.
And this is why he didn't want to do it. He doesn't want to ruin the 5 years. But I'm asking you, what do you imagine after Pat Riley's resume is what it is, with the added bonus of this? He's 78 years old. There is no reason for him to keep doing what he is doing, except it's everything he is. It's who he is. His identity is never being embarrassed like this in public by I don't have the power. Like that's a dinosaur in basketball now. He wrought it, and now it threatens at the end to try and make him extinct because he's still leaning into, oh yeah? Oh, you're going to do that? Okay, here's another suspension. And here's another suspension. And watch how unpleasant it is to come to work every day. Oh, do you realize what you're fighting here, Jimmy? Because all of the conflict in this furnace, this building that feeds us to get us to Boston, all of that conflict now turns against you because, as Udonis says, you're either all in or you're all out. And they got somebody in the building walking around who's clearly all out. And I'm like, how does that land with someone who's 78 and more than Mark Andrews as an immortal? Like, how does that legitimately land to be publicly, to have the thing that you are publicly embarrassed? You're about, you will respect me in this sport. I'm still doing this approaching 80, even though I've won for 6 decades everywhere I've ever been. And damn sure he believes he's the reason for the winning. You could say it's the players, and he'd say it's an awful lot of different players in an awful lot of different cities, and the only one who's always around the winning is me. So he's Belichick. And Butler's not Brady. And even when Brady didn't like Belichick, Brady didn't do this in public. Like, there was not an attack and a disrespect of who Belichick is and the identity and the principles he believes in that is basically urinating on midcourt. Like, that court's named after him now. And it's basically just pissing on midcourt. And that part's super interesting to me. Who wins when it's the dinosaur of authority against everything that's been empowered by the last 15 years of Heat basketball?
But Jimmy's not attacking Riley personally with this, is he? It's just he wants to get paid, and he's not paying him. Has Jimmy been coming out, like, going at Riley? It's
like,
more
Riley's a bad dude.
Like, I haven't heard that. It's more just like, pay me or I'm out of here.
Oh, I understand what you're saying. I'm saying this is personal the moment you embarrass his organization. It's not any words on it. It's your being the antithesis to what it is that I demand. Like, my core principles on how it is I arrive at excellence, you don't abide by them anymore, even though they've benefited you for 5 years. The part that I'm saying to you guys is whatever Jimmy Butler's ego is here, Riley's is larger.
But maybe Jimmy is hurt here, Dan. Maybe he did all the things that Riley and Spo told him to do, and he turned into the best form of Jimmy Butler that we've ever seen. He's been to the finals. He's been to the conference finals. He has done things that we didn't anticipate Jimmy Butler could do, and now he wants to get paid for them.
Yep.
And they're unwilling to pay him.
Agreed.
So he's hurt.
That's right.
For what it's worth, they did already give him an extension. So it's not like he came here on some contract that was valuable while they had it, and then they never paid him more money. They paid him more money And in the new version of the CBA, they're not willing to give him what is essentially the Kobe contract with the Lakers, right? Like, that's their concern with it. I think Jimmy's game will actually age gracefully. Like, I think if he ends up in the right situation, he's going to be fine. But they don't want to pay him for past performance. They wanted to see this season, can you continue to prove to us that you can be that guy that leads a team there, or else we're going to use flexibility and move on. And now it's just a really, really ugly divorce from Jimmy Butler's most productive of his 4 marriages.
Let me show the audience a couple of tweets here. One is the first that Chris Cody says has ever gone viral for him. Chris Cody has never in his history of just sending out his thoughts, down the middle, Chris, has never had a tweet go viral. What is the tweet that you recently had go viral, and why did it go viral?
It's a benign tweet, I thought. So with all last week, Big Cat from Pardon My Take is getting a lot of crap about, it was revealed he's from Boston, even though he's a big Bears fan. The internet was just freaking out about people and their allegiances and can you switch teams. So I put out a very benign tweet. I wrote, normalize switching sports allegiances. Which is not even something I necessarily, it was really just trolling the whole situation in the internet. And this thing took off. 18.4 million views.
That's insane.
By far my biggest, most viral tweet ever. Even more viral than my tweet when I announced my departure from ESPN, because that one was very viral as well. But it's really just crazy to me because it's just a benign statement. Hey, I should be allowed to switch allegiances. And man, the internet not happy with me.
I saw some guy say they wanted to shoot you.
Oh my God!
And that had 200,000 likes.
If you want a good laugh, peruse through the quotes. It's just like, this guy's not a real man.
Yeah,
this guy doesn't get it.
John Gruden hated it.
I'd punch this guy in the face if I saw him right here. It's a lot of that. But hey, viral is viral, and I want. And if you were wondering, how does your life change when you go viral? My 18.4 million impressions that I got on Twitter, gained me 22 followers.
Wow, big day.
Congratulations.
Big
Wow.
day.
I want to show you guys another tweet that made me laugh because I don't know if you guys have realized this, but since being publicly punched in the face, Jordan Poole hasn't said very much publicly that is disparaging about Draymond Green. Talk about being embarrassed in public, by the way, when video leaks of you just being punched in the face by a teammate, it can short circuit your entire career. That embarrassment. So Jordan Poole writes on Twitter of his former Warriors teammates, I love most of the guys over there. And then sneaking into the comments, Draymond Green, I really am sorry. Draymond Green has done several podcasts, I think a docu-series, if I'm not mistaken, about everything that's happening here. Jordan Poole hasn't commented, and Draymond Green's just chasing him around the internet. Hey, I'm really sorry that my anger got the best of me. Like, it helped me win those championships, and I know it ran off Durant and made me punch you in the face, but we really used it for a long time for good, and I really am sorry. It's funny to see. I believe he is.
Do you?
And I believe that Jordan Poole will never forgive him.
He's in Washington.
That team is so bad.
So bad.
And they're going to trade Kyle Kuzma. They're going to get it worse.
It's addition by subtraction.
I have to make a correction, by the way. MASH took place in Korea, but it aired during the time of the Vietnam War, so it was sort of commenting on both. So it's my bad.
All right.
Greg, you should have known that, I feel like, as a MASH fan.
Right. I just don't know what the acronym stands for. Have we ever investigated that?
Mobile Army Surgical Hospital.
Okay.
And the asterisks were actually added by the network. That's not a Army nomenclature. They just were like, oh, this is cute.
Yeah, they did good work.
Is the asterisk a punctuation? Is
Yeah.
It
Of course
counts?
it is.
It
Yeah.
counts
Yeah.
as punctuation?
Duh.
I just don't think of it as
Yeah.
punctuation. I think of it as something sort of numerical for some reason. I'm sorry. I didn't mean for you guys to...
Dumb of you.
Yeah, I feel like a real fool for this.
Something you put next to a tainted championship?
It's a symbol. I think you're right. It doesn't...
I think it's grammatical. Like if you list the Heisman winners, you see O.J. Simpson. That one means murder.
Yeah, I mean, it's a symbol that you can reference what you're using the asterisk for something else.
There you go.
Put it on the poll. Is the asterisk considered punctuation? I wanted to ask you guys, in this economy, okay, if it is a good job. There is a job open right now that I wonder if any of you would want. I saw Patton Oswalt doing a bit recently, and it wasn't a bit because it happened to him, but it was part of his act, where he was saying that the Planters nut people sent him their car, wanting him an offer to use the Planters Nutmobile to take him somewhere. And evidently the driver of that thing now is a paid position. It has benefits. And what do you think that job would pay? And would you want the job, or does it depend on the pay? Do you think it would be fun to drive the Planters Nutmobile?
Actually, I know someone who used to drive the Wienermobile.
That was my high school car.
Yeah, I was waiting for that. It's like a 1-year contract, and you just drive it around. Usually it's people that have just graduated college, and you're just an ambassador for the Wienermobile, and you meet people. They drove it to Sports Illustrated once because they were in Manhattan and Charlotte, and I went and met them and took pictures in the Wienermobile. Very interesting. They go to sporting events and all these sorts of different things, and they're just like, yeah, we're here on behalf of the Wienermobile. Take pictures with our giant wiener.
How much do you think that job should pay? What would
load?
What would, not the Wienermobile, the Nutmobile?
Very little.
Peanuts.
$45,000. So yeah, that's what it pays. Peanuts. $45,000. I don't know if, and I imagine also peanuts, right? One would assume that you would get some sort of benefit. Can we get some more?
It should be one of the perks.
More
Dave.
information on this job, yes, because one would assume that peanuts would also be part of the payment. But $45,000, is that enough for any of you to be willing to do that job? Because the novelty would wear off shortly, and then you're just the person who's driving around in a golf cart that's shaped like a peanut.
I mean, do it now or straight out of college? That's a big difference. Like, straight out of college, it seems like a great gig, no?
$45,000 a year makes it less than $1,000 a week, which then makes it less than $200 a day before taxes.
Do you call your car the Wienermobile, Stu?
The Jets golf cart?
No,
You
I
could.
don't.
I mean-
Yeah, you should.
Well, why should I do that? You guys want me to drive around in the Wienermobile?
Yes. Yes.
Really?
You
Okay.
already do.
Let's get it done.
Well, look, Billy asked me this question. Billy and I walked in yesterday just genuinely confused because I had a parking brake problem on my car, and so I was driving a loaner, which meant that my car was next to Stugotz's car, which was yet another rental. And we are really...
A loaner.
We're really curious, right? Because you come in here every day with a different car, and I know we've asked you about it before, and you've sort of explained that it has to do with your daughters being in town and how many cars you now have and don't have for multiple people. But it is jarring to see the number of different cars that you come in with. It's rarely the same automobile that you're coming in any day or any week, and it's weird. It feels like you're changing cars every day, like Joe Pesci in Casino trying to get away from the authorities because there are helicopters chasing him, and they've got too many people following him everywhere.
But I wear the same clothes every day. So, I mean, I'm not trying to get away from the authorities. The car situation is what it is, but I have a long drive. It is rough on the car. So when the kids are home, we rent cars because we don't have enough cars for everyone. So we have to rent cars because they're in college. They have cars in college. They're not driving them home. But on this particular occasion, I hit something on the turnpike going south at like 5:30 in the morning on a Monday, and a part came off of my car. I didn't get a flat, nothing. I drove all the way to work, but this part came off of my car, and it came off perfectly. But I had to bring it into the shop. They had to order the part. The part just got in yesterday. My car will be ready on Monday. You will see another new car on Monday. Wow. But that's the deal. That's why. It's just a loaner.
But do they know you by name at the rental
Of course
car
they
place?
do.
Like,
Yes,
how does the whole relationship thing work? Because surely you guys
I'm like
have thought
Norm
that,
there. Yeah.
Chris, you have thought this too, yes?
I've got him. This is like a one text. I'll be there in 10. And they put the car out there, and it's there when he gets there. Like I think this is like under the table. This is just
You think Stugotz is
scratching backs.
a
Like,
VIP
I'll scratch your back, you scratch mine kind of thing.
client?
You think Audi is giving me a new car every couple of weeks?
I think that you got to hook up. Like
He's saying-
you've bought enough cars with them that they're like, we got to keep this guy happy.
Yeah.
Stu needs a loaner. They're like
They let him smoke in them.
They're canceling on someone who like reserved that loaner weeks in advance. Stu needs one.
He's
He'll be
saying
here
you're a
in 10.
VIP, that you roll into the rental car place and you are the king of that place. That you're throwing around all of the servers there, like at the restaurant where the guy walks in who's super famous, that everyone knows your name and is always giving you the best of the rental car perks.
Just dishing out pre-rolls for tips.
I feel like the Nutmobile
How'd you know?
parking situation alone warrants more than $45,000. If you have to parallel park the Nutmobile, good luck.
It's a big car. It's
Big
not
nut, yes.
it's not actually just a golf cart.
Isn't the Wienermobile longer?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I saw a Red Bull car the other day driving along A1A.
With like a Red Bull on
Yeah.
top, yeah.
Yeah, it really didn't I think the Goodyear Blimp invented that, right? Like the Goodyear Blimp is the same thing but in the air as the Wienermobile. And
So the invention you're claiming is just a sponsored vehicle of some sort,
Yes.
famed for being not just a vehicle, but famed for giving the corporate sponsor a great deal of fame. You're saying the inventor of that was the Goodyear Blimp, that nowhere before was there a vehicle that was sponsored by anybody. What was the Goodyear Blimp before the Goodyear Blimp for the vessel category? Because it's a good question he's asking. I think that I would also think of that as the most famous of the inventors, but I'm trying to remember what I
got
forgot.
to see the Goodyear Blimp in person, I think for the first time at the Orange Bowl. It was very special to me. I've never gotten to see that thing. There's not that many blimps in the world, and when you get one nearby, you got to soak it all in.
How many blimps do you imagine there are in the world? It seems like an inefficient vehicle. It's a novelty vehicle. There can't be that many.
I think there's like 6 or 7 or something.
I think the Goodyear Blimp is one of 3. I think there's 3 Goodyear Blimps, unless that's numbers changed.
You think Goodyear has half of the blimps on the globe?
I think so, yeah.
That can't be right. That can't be there are 6 or 7 blimps on the entire planet.
I thought they had all of them, to be honest with you.
MetLife has a blimp.
Says there are about
Do they really?
25 blimps that exist. About half of them are still in use. Also, on the measurements of the Nutmobile and the Wienermobile, same size.
Are you talking about Goodyear blimps specifically?
Talking about blimps.
Okay, so
period.
I see that there are 4 Goodyear blimps.
Okay.
Right.
One of them must have had a baby. But Roy's right.
What a visual that's
The
created.
MetLife blimp is a
It's a
thing.
big nut.
MetLife just has one. MetLife looks at Goodyear
Yeah,
and
Snoopy
it's,
won.
it's just mad about, man, you got 4 hangars for the blimp and we only have 1. We feel so inferior to you, Goodyear, as MetLife because we only have 1 piddly blimp. You're telling me the blimp is endangered then. The blimp is officially endangered if there are only 20.
I don't think he was ever thriving,
Well, no, it was. Stugotz, the Empire State Building was actually built so that it could dock a Zeppelin at the top of it. This was like the vehicle of the future at one point.
Yeah, the Hindenburg.
But then
yeah.
they were very dangerous and obviously blew up, and it was not so great.
Are there differences between blimps and Zeppelins that I don't know about? Are there like 40 Zeppelins? Is that a different category or is that just a synonym for blimp?
I think Zeppelin was like the company, wasn't it? That's why they were called Zeppelins.
Yeah, they couldn't fly. They were made of Led Zeppelin.
I knew it was coming.
Very heavy vehicle, low mileage. You can imagine. We got liftoff. Oh, no, we don't. We're made of lead. Can't fly. Very heavy. I think it costs the Goodyear Blimp like $5,000 to take off every time.
Really?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Can we look that up, please? And I want to know, even though looking things up on the internet can be dangerous, I need some clarification on something because, again, I don't know if I'm being fooled. I don't know if the internet is fooling me. I don't know if Billy Corgan and Bill Burr are fooling me. But I think it should be bigger news if indeed Bill Burr and Billy Corgan realized recently that they are brothers. I think that that's something that if it's real, it's something that should be bigger news. But I'm not sure because it happened on Howie Mandel's podcast. I think of Billy Corgan as an amazing interview and someone who is clever enough and funny enough to be in on a bit. And I know Bill Burr is funny enough to be in on a bit. Is this true?
I think this is, but you mentioned it's Howie Mandel's podcast, and we ran a Dana White clip that seemed very real, and the logic was, well, Dana White can't possibly be that good of an actor. And it turned out, we found out like a month and a half later, Dana was doing a bit.
He stormed off, threatening to never be on podcasts again.
Yeah, he's like, I'm just done. And Howie played it great. Dana did too. And Dana revealed in another interview later on that, no, Howie came up with this idea. But the seeds of this actually began about a month ago on Howie Mandel's podcast when Billy Corgan was there, and he kind of revealed this. We have a clip here, and I hope this clip provides context, but if it doesn't, Billy Corgan revealed that his mother pulled him aside fairly recently and said, hey, you know that comedian Bill Burr? I think he may be your brother. And like a whole secret family situation. So Howie Mandel surprises Bill Burr with Billy Corgan as he has Bill Burr on the show, and this is what happens.
So Billy Corgan was nice enough on my podcast to talk about the fact that he told a story that he had never told before, that his father traveled.
My stepmother said to me, do you know who Bill Burr is? Bill Burr might be one of the children that your father sired in his days on being a traveling musician.
If you do the math,
he was a piece of
with
and he had two kids this close together, and he named them the same name.
Yeah.
He thinks it's different because he's Billy and I'm Bill. Like, that's how he told the difference.
Well, I was Bill when I was young, but you're right. I mean,
you know, but I just would prefer if he just kind of didn't go around. No, not telling these stories. Like, why did you feel the need to do that?
Okay, can I give you the setup on all this, because it's his fault.
You can do whatever you want because you kind of already did that.
Okay, I'm trying to be respectful.
Now you are.
Okay, no wait. He told me you were cool with me.
You're a Cubs fan? That tracks. Does YouTube give you awards for
setups?
Healing fathers who secretly have two families?
This is some Dr. Phil going on here.
Yeah, thank you.
I think that you guys should take a moment.
I think we're on the same page, thinking that you're kind of a dick right now.
Bill Burr seems like the wrong guy to surprise that with.
I mean, Bill Burr certainly had received word of Billy Corgan's appearance, and he references like, did you ever think that I kind of knew about this and I never went on a podcast to reveal it? Like, I didn't want it out there. Like, they leaned into this weird brotherly contentious relationship at a certain point. Bill Burr's like, what, you think we're just going to play catch now to Billy Corgan? Like, the whole thing is really captivating, and I believe it is a little open-ended. You don't get like 100% confirmation that this is real. If it isn't, I mean, that Howie Mandel's 2 for 2 with stunts. But I kind of believe this one, and if I'm a fool, I'm a fool.
Billy Corgan, not the same as the Because Miami host. Billy, that may be a little
That's
clarification.
Billy Corbin,
there.
yes.
Okay.
Billy Corgan.
Well, we don't know how much.
Right. Yes.
The father actually
we don't know
traveled and
anything.
got around.
Yeah, right.
And it seems like, he loves that first name.
That is such a good acidic line for Bill Burr to spit. You think we're just going to play catch now. And visually, it's uproarious to just put them next to each other and say, yeah, they're brothers. just visually to make the joke if it's not true. But that was uncomfortable enough, and I've been in at least one uncomfortable situation with Bill Burr. You do not want to be on the wrong end of everything that's happening there. In fact, there are comedians throughout the comic world who love Bill Burr and won't pick up the phone because they're terrified when his rage is coming their way.
He is intimidating.
Oh my God!
Yeah, your appearance with him and Bert was really uncomfortable.
There are so few people doing it at present who have graduated from the Dennis Leary time in comedy to still be doing angry comedy in a way that's likable. He has been so good on the health insurance stuff, and he's been so good as a comedian who connects with every man out there spitting bile all over the place. You know what I saw the other day that caught me off guard for a couple of reasons? On Tubi, which I don't watch, there was a movie, The Thicket, made by Tubi. I did not know that Tubi made movie. It has Dinklage in it. Juliette Lewis is great in it. It is a Western, and it has commercials, but also good in it. And it surprised me. Andrew Schultz. I've never seen him act before, and they were asking him to have a character that had some range. And my wife practically spits at the television as soon as he comes on. Just his face. It's just his face. I don't even think it's the comedy. It's just Andrew Schultz's face, which is pretty perfect for a Western, you have to admit, because he looks like somebody who would tie somebody to railroad tracks. Do you guys watch Tubi at all? I did not know that Tubi was making good
I
movies.
watch all potential partners.
I just wasn't from I was not.
You were sprinting away from Tubi. Like you went out of your way to say, hey, I don't watch it.
No, I'm pointing out that this was a source of discovery for me. I'm not meaning to disparage Tubi. I just don't want to watch stuff that has commercials. And now you're giving me a movie that's got Dinklage and Juliette Lewis in it, but you're going to make me watch commercials on it, and I did it because I enjoyed the movie. But did you know that Tubi was making its own big movies?
I have no idea what I'm watching, where I'm watching it. I've subscribed. I travel so much. I've subscribed to so many things and taken their free trial, and now I'm paying $29.99 a month. I have no idea.
I agree.
You are the everyman here.
I mean, I'm watching something. I have to ask my wife, what channel are we? I still use the word channel. I don't know whether it's Apple TV or Netflix or Tubi, to be or not to be, as far as I'm concerned.
That is the question.
I'm lost when it comes to channels.
Put it on the poll, Juju. Tubi or not to be. Spell it Tubi. And also put on the poll, did you know that Tubi was making its own independent movies? Juliette Lewis, again, was great in this. She's great in general, but I had never seen her like this. And I don't know that I can give a higher compliment these days, the way that they've made our options so specific and removed so many inconveniences. I don't know that I could give a movie higher praise than, okay, I'll watch it with commercials. If I have to watch it with commercials, I will, because I don't know when this happened to me. I wasn't even aware of it happening to me. But at some point, I made the choice. Very few movies of any kind are ever going to make me sit through commercials ever again. I don't feel like I chose that. I feel like that was chosen for me by just that the general movement these days to put so many conveniences in front of you that Stugotz is going to get tricked because he can't remember to cancel his free trial.
It is pretty insane. If this is indeed true, that Billy Corgan and Bill Burr have been brothers this whole time. Just really talented dudes doing their own thing, and in their 50s they find out they're brothers.
Their father got around.
Like Betty White.
Yeah.
That was the joke I was making.
Okay.
A Zeppelin is a type of rigid airship named after the German inventor Ferdinand von Zeppelin, who pioneered rigid airship development at the beginning of the 20th century.
So it is a blimp or it's not a blimp?
They're similar, but yes.
There are 20 of those roaming around. Zeppelins.
So you got 25 blimps, half of them work, and you've got 20 or 25 Zeppelins, and we don't know how many of those work. Do we know the difference between a blimp and a Zeppelin? What kind of distinctions are we making between those two things?
I think maybe the frame of it, rigid airship, makes me think that it's...
For the Zeppelin, yeah.
But the blimp is also, is it not a rigid airship as well? Like, I think of the blimp as almost entirely impractical.
No, I think of the blimp as a floaty boy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. More like a hot air balloon, I think.
Yes.
In a way.
Okay,
I feel like you could put wheels on a Zeppelin and drive it on the street, but I wonder if that would be legal.
It would not be street legal. It would obviously
Probably not.
It would obviously not be
It'd
street
be tough
legal.
to make a sharp turn.
Right.
Or any turn.
Overhead clearance issues.
Yeah, that'd be weird.
Wide loads.
Yeah, just a thought.
Zeppelin does not own the Goodyear blimps, by the way, just to clear that up. So, ramble on.
No,
Chris Cody, your disgust with your father is so palpable.
Way too comfortable. He's
When
just
he
like
gets
leaning back,
that,
he's
no,
like,
but it's how good he is at it. Look, don't turn your back on him. He's the best bleeping host in the game.
There you go.
How dare you disrespect your father by expecting him to talk close to a microphone?
I mean, it's a giant mic. It should be able to pick
Well,
me up.
your
from
gems,
right
your
here.
gems are so good
Yep.
that the microphone should come to you.
Gemming it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a Gemini. I don't even know what that means.
Yeah.
I don't know horoscopes.
Right.
Like, what is a Gemini?
Tell us all you know about
Well,
it.
what are you, though? I mean,
I'm a Virgo. I know I'm a Virgo.
You are a Virgo.
Tell us what you know about all of them. Go ahead.
I don't know. I don't follow the horoscope. You know, I'm not Ricky Williams. I mean, I don't do that kind of thing.
Which
That
ones?
kind of thing.
Which ones can you
Yeah,
name?
exactly.
How many of them can you name?
Okay, Sagittarius.
Right.
Capricorn.
Yep.
Virgo.
Mm-hmm.
Gemini.
Yep.
Is Gemini?
Yes.
Yes.
Um,
Your son's one.
Congrats. Pluto. I don't know. I literally
Pluto.
can't. I literally
Pluto.
can't name them all.
I know you went from like a NASA thing to an outer space thing with Gemini and Pluto there.
Ever since
I'm
Pluto
following.
was devalued as a planet, it gets no respect. So I thought I'd name it as a
Unfair to
horoscope.
Pluto, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Crazy. Bring back Pluto.
Yep.
But what are the other horoscopes?
That's
what
not
are there, a
necessary.
dozen?
It's okay. The joke runs its course the moment you get 4 out of 12.
Betty White was a Capricorn.
Was she?
Wow.
How about that?
Explains
Sounds like a car.
Explains a lot.
What do you drive? A Capricorn. A Sagittarius. They all sound like cars.
They do.
You know, a Gemini. I think Gemini is a car.
A Buick Sagittarius.
Yes,
A Taurus,
exactly.
a Taurus is a car.
I had Sagittarius as Ford, a Ford Sagittarius.
Yeah, no, that's good. I always thought the former NFL commissioner sounded like a car. I drive a Ford Tagliabue. You know, I mean,
So good.
There's so many things.
You're
that
so
sound
right.
Like
The
cars.
Chevy Tagliabue. That is fantastic, Greg.
Thank you.
Put it on the poll,
A
please.
Tagliabue.
Yes. Tags.
Put it on the poll, please, at Le Batard Show. Would you buy a sports car that was a luxury Tagliabue? It is a great name, and now I defy the rest of you to come up with a sports name for a car better than the Tagliabue.
Oh, man.
I defy all of you to use all of sports names throughout the history of sports names in order to find something better than the Ford Tagliabue.
I think Led Zeppelin was like a play on words, like a Led Zeppelin, a balloon that was going to be full of lead that would go down.
Yeah, it goes over like a lead balloon.
Exactly.
Jeremy told me like crazy trivia about Led Zeppelin that I had no idea about.
Yeah, before they were officially called Led Zeppelin, when they were kind of creating the origins of the band, Steve Winwood almost ended up the lead singer.
What?
I cannot think of a more different lead singer
Wow.
for Led Zeppelin than Steve Winwood.
Wow.
What about T-Pain?
Okay, that works. Thinking of the time.
I saw a T.I. concert on Saturday.
T.I.?
How was
Yeah,
that?
It was in Atlanta.
I love T.I. I think he's super underrated. Great
It
catalog.
was good.
He was in a really good era, and everybody was on the Lil Wayne stuff. I thought T.I. was a guy of that era.
I only think of T.I. Saving the life of a suicidal Scott Stapp here at Fontainebleau Hotel.
I think of Swagger Like Us.
I'm telling you, I've got the better story than you do when T.I. is rescuing the lead singer of Creed during a dark time.
Well, now I'm going to think about that.
Steve Winwood would also be a crazy lead singer for Creed.
Steve Winwood also.
Before the show, Mike Ryan was legitimately thrilled with something that Jeremy said. It doesn't happen very often. And he was thrilled specifically by the sports take that Jeremy has, that the MVP conversation, contract conversations, that as value increases in the sport, and we're always talking about money, that the MVP should be measured differently than it's presently measured.
It's been so difficult to move this big contract in Jimmy Butler. So I was thinking about, value in players and looking at the MVP race. I was wondering, in every conversation we have about basketball, we talk about the contracts and what they mean to their team as max players. So why don't we talk about their value when we're talking about the most valuable player? So as you look down the MVP odds, you see Shai Gilgeous-Alexander right at the top.
He's having a moment right now.
He's been unbelievable. I mean, he is unbelievable.
Game day and
making $35.8 million this season.
Tires.
Nikola Jokic, Second, making $51.4 million. But then you look at Victor Wembanyama, who has the 5th best odds according to DraftKings, and he's making just $12.8 million, averaging 24 points, 11 rebounds, 4 assists, and 4 blocks per game. You can go down to guys that are off the list. Cade Cunningham, who's leading the Pistons to the 6th seed in the East, averaging 25 points, 6.5 rebounds, almost 10 assists per game. He's making just $14 million. Alperen Şengün, who's led the Houston Rockets to the 2 seed right now in the Western Conference, he's making just $5.4 million, averaging about 20 and 11 for them. So the question is when we're talking about value instead of most excellent player, and we're talking about the most valuable player, why aren't we taking contracts into account and the production that they're giving you to allow a team to be built around you?
You guys got an answer?
I think this is a fantastic point of view because, it's in the name of the award, and because it's a cap sport, value is paramount. It's always associated with greatness. But what truly makes you valuable to a franchise? It's probably greatness and actual value. Jeremy, it's rare when I'm that impressed with something that you have to say.
Oh, my God. Thank you. Thank you. I don't know what to do with myself. What do I do with my hands?
You shut up. Stop talking.
It's showtime, buddy! The Bengal speaks. And the ram responds. The Bengal tiger is an apex predator with no natural enemies other than man. It's equipped with incredible strength, combined with sharp claws and massive canine teeth, designed for overpowering and killing its prey that can weigh over 1,000 pounds. It is, in reality, a finely tuned killing machine. The ram, on the other hand, though extremely quick and powerful in its own right, is a vegetarian that does not have to hunt down and kill to survive. Their massive horns are powerful, and they do have the ability to severely injure an animal with a well-placed bow, giving them the opportunity to escape. But for one to be able to overtake a Bengal tiger in a fight to the death would require a small miracle. Snapper with the ball, with 6 minutes left, down 4 points, with 79 yards to go.
In a face-to-face battle, the best the ram could hope for would be an extremely lucky first blow, done in the form of a massive headbutt that would temporarily stun the Bengal and provide an opportunity for escape. That, however, is unlikely. And the most realistic result would be the Bengal striking its claws into the ram while burying its teeth into its neck and causing a fairly quick death by severing the spine.
T. Higgins is gone for 75 yards.
Then the Bengal would devour the ram. Unless that ram was Cooper.
You and only you can spark a battle cry. The Rams, victory was sealed on strength of your divine champion. stops the NF. Nothing stops the NF. Nothing stops the NF.
This episode of the Dan Le Batard Show with Stugotz is presented by Venmo.
Juju, please put this on the poll, and I ask for the audience for submissions as well at Le Batard Show. Which of these cars would you be most likely to buy? The Volkswagen Bolitnikov, the Ford Tagliabue, the Chrysler Concepcion, the Chevy Terrassi.
That's close.
That's good.
It's close. Tags is still atop the mountain.
Can I add one? A Dodge Durant.
You think the Dodge Durant is better than the Dodge Dorset or the Dodge Saberhagen?
I like Durant.
You
Dodge
like
Durant.
the alliteration?
Yeah,
you like
I really
the
do.
DD?
Tarasi, I guess because it's so close to Taurus, but Tagliabue.
I don't think we beat Tagliabue
I don't think
yet.
we've beaten Tagliabue yet either. At Le Batard Show, David Sampson is with us. His podcast, Nothing Personal, covers an array of topics that is super unusual, and I don't think there's an individual host I've heard anywhere in sports with the terrain that he is covering in sports business and complicated issues. David, thank you for joining us. Before we get to the sports things of the day, though, the Oscars, you are obsessed with the Oscars more than just about anything in entertainment. Everything just came out. What is your experience with this stuff? Are you waiting somewhere at the appointed time to make sure you get the information because you care so much about whether or not the things that you thought were great in the movies are validated by the Academy?
Well, I do a live show for Metalark from 8 to 8:50 a.m. Eastern, and the Oscar nominations come out at 8:30. And so for the last many years, I have missed the live announcement, and I asked Coca, the producer, to feed the nominations in my ear as they're happening, and he refuses to do it because we're in the middle of a show. So then I end the show, and now I have to talk about them tomorrow, but I'm already caught completely up to date, and it's one of the great sadnesses of my life that I miss the live nomination announcements. I used to love it. There were times during owners' meetings when I would step out because they would happen normally on things were different this year because of the fires, but normally on a Tuesday when I'd be in a meeting or a Thursday, whatever the day is, and I would literally step out and watch it live, but not this year, Dan.
David, what's going on with this Emilia Perez thing? Because look, for the record, I haven't seen it yet. I haven't been moved to see it. A lot of people whose opinion I value told me, like, this is not nomination worthy. And it's one thing to be nominated for a Golden Globe, but now it's nominated for Best Picture. It's got the lowest Rotten Tomatoes score by far. Not that that's going to be the end all and be all by it, but I've just seen like isolated clips of this film, and it's kind of confirming to me that it's probably not that great. Surely there had to be a better film to round out this nomination field for Best Picture, no?
Well, it actually leads with 13 nominations, and it helps that it's in the international category. It's unbelievable. The story itself is unbelievable. Forget the fact that it's the first trans woman to be nominated for Best Actress, and her performance as Emilia Perez is the best of the year, but Demi Moore is certainly in leading right now to win Best Actress. But you've got songs, you've got music, you've got a story, you've got drugs, you've got sex, you've got Selena Gomez. You've got an unbelievably gripping tale of what it is to be in a cartel and decide that you've had a crisis of conscience, and it makes you change your entire life, including leaving your wife and kids in order to live your truth. And living truth when you've been part of murder and mayhem and money is quite difficult. It's an extraordinary movie, and before you criticize it, you should watch it.
Why is there such a disparity between nominations and a Rotten Tomatoes score? Is it because it gets politicized? Because anything on the internet that is made by someone who's a minority or a group that is transgender, you're going to get a wild fluctuation on the politics of a review?
No, I think it's anything without an exclamation point or a part 2 or Ryan Reynolds doesn't get enough attention. So this is just a movie that's not for everyone because it requires your head and your heart. And there's a lot of movies out there that are made for the lowest common denominator, and this is not one of them. And one of the great criticisms of the Oscars is that it really brings movies that are not widely seen to the forefront. Well, go see them because they're really good, and you shouldn't be afraid to learn. It's like, oh, this won the Pulitzer Prize. I can't read it. I'm going to stick with just reading Stugotz's book. That's not how it's supposed to be. You're supposed to read books that improve your knowledge and intellect, and I think that's the same with movies.
So what you're talking about, Dan, and things being politicized, what's interesting about this is like the communities are sort of split on this. There have actually been several LGBTQ critics of this movie saying things such as it seemed like the filmmaker was painting trans women as liars, and GLAAD said it was a profoundly retrograde portrayal of trans women. So that's been most of what I have been seeing is actually people criticizing it from that perspective of, no, this isn't actually, even though we're using inclusion and using a trans woman as an actor and all of those things, it's actually sort of backwards in some of its ideals there. And so that's, I think, part of what has been the conflict. And also that Selena Gomez is not speaking very good Spanish.
The movie that we reviewed last week, Chasing Amy, had a lot of people from inside the LGBTQ community criticizing the movie Chasing Amy as though it did not properly portray what it is to be lesbian, or that you can become not a lesbian if you have Ben Affleck. Everybody's so quick to stand up and try to criticize. To me, I look at Emilia Perez, I look at it as a movie. I don't look at it as a trans movie or an LGBTQ movie or a black and white movie or a musical. I look at it as see what the story is, see what the acting is, the writing, the directing, the music, and it's got all of that. And so that is the reason why I'm a supporter of it.
David, Challengers, biggest snub, not getting a Best Score nomination?
Well, Atticus and Ross, as you know, they basically, the minute they put a note down, they're going to get a nomination. So that was a big surprise. The Challengers got nothing. There was a possibility in screenplay, but original score was supposed to be it. And listen, the movies that were nominated in the original score category, there are no schleppers in the category. The biggest snub of all for me happened in the documentary category, but you're right. Challengers not getting any love was certainly disappointing.
Don't you think that the film itself didn't do the score any favors? Because, like, in a vacuum, I loved the score too, but by the end, it was almost used comedically. And I found myself literally laughing at the score and the way that the film was using it. I guess that might be an argument for why it should be nominated.
Exactly.
But yes, I agree.
That's the best score ever.
It's like it's so good and it adds so much to that. Like, picture that movie without the score. It's kind of like what?
It's just like a horny alarm that goes off. Like
it's
anytime it gets horny, we play this music.
The point. It's awesome.
But it's making me laugh at the end and not taking it as seriously. But I guess that's the point. I'm not supposed to take it seriously.
And you know how scores happen in that the movie is filmed, there's no music to it, and then you go into a edit bay and the movie is playing and there's the director sort of watching over the people doing the score and they're adding music. It changes the whole movie.
Yeah.
Scores to a movie actually are maybe the single most important thing that gets done after filming, even more so than editing.
Well, editing's up there, but you ain't lying, especially for certain genres. For horror, there's certain movies that you can't even imagine, like Psycho or Jaws, you can't imagine without the score. I guess the score in this film becomes a character in its own right. So, again, more arguments for it being nominated.
Look at this. Typical sports show arguing about scores. What are we doing?
David, I don't think that Mike Ryan and the time works out so that Mike Ryan can indeed nominate Mission Impossible for this year's Oscars, but it has been reported that someone had a heart attack while watching.
Almost. An almost heart attack.
An almost, well, it's
An
a heart.
almost heart
No, no,
attack.
it can
What's
be a
an
heart
almost
attack.
heart attack?
It can't. No, it's a heart attack, but it didn't end in death. It's still a heart attack. Is
It's
it
like
not?
when your right arm cramps. That's like an almost heart attack.
Yes,
You're like,
because of the stressful situation that I assume happens underwater. Keep in mind, Final Reckoning, it was supposed to be, the original thing was Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1. And they've just gotten rid of that, and they're just calling MI8 The Final Reckoning. But it is almost it is a direct sequel from the events from what happened in Dead Reckoning Part 1, which, as you know, has a submarine submerged in the Arctic waters. Ethan's going to have to go down there and get something, so I imagine he's going to drown and die for possibly the third time in this franchise.
Samson has very little interest in the Mission Impossible movies. But
Why?
You just
That's
did.
not true at all.
No, it's the
Dan.
greatest action franchise of all time.
Yeah,
Full
that's
stop.
not true what you just said. It's not just because it's not Academy worthy in acting or in directing or in writing does not mean I don't love being entertained. I've seen every single one. I don't like when you put me in the box because it serves the show or serves
You know what?
to have
Forgive
the-
me.
this
I
intellect.
will apologize to you. I simply don't think of you and action movies because you never come on here wanting to talk action movies. I didn't think of that as a genre that you partook in because I can't recall in 20 years doing this with you coming on here wanting to review an action movie.
Well, the reason is that you guys do that without me. And what I try to do, including the movie I want to review today, is a movie that I don't know if everybody's going to see. And if even 5 listeners or whatever your reach and roar is, if anyone gets out of their comfort zone and just the way Mike Ryan has me get out of mine and watch movies that I otherwise would not watch, including what I'm watching this weekend, Mike, is nominated for 4 Oscars, is your best movie of the year.
Are you saying Nosferatu?
I just didn't want to say Nosferatu. I wanted you to say it because it's your movie.
To be
I'm
clear,
gonna see it.
To be clear, it was a film that excited me the most. I don't think the best movie that I think I've seen all year from 2024 is probably Anora, but I have to get around. I haven't seen the bulk of the Best Picture nominations. I'll get around to every single one of them. I am a little disappointed that Nosferatu didn't crack like some of the 10 best films. I thought it did get nominated for cinematography, which I thought was just jaw-dropping in this film. So I'm happy that I'm getting you out of your comfort zone. And as you might agree that horror is really pushing like some of the most creative boundaries in cinema right now.
Well, I'm hoping it's not a jump scare horror movie because the last movie that you said I shouldn't watch, it really wasn't a horror movie. It was just a horror to watch it. So I do view those as different. The genre of horror to watch, you can put Schindler's List in that. Horror movie to me is, The Exorcist and The Shining. But I assume that Nosferatu is not that sort of movie. At least I hope not.
No, it's not that.
I want to ask Mike and David a question. When you both said during this segment, as you know, to us, did you guys think we really knew or were you faking it? As you know, as a crutch, were you confident that we knew or were you just lying to us being polite?
I'll start with that. That's a verbal crutch that I do that comes off as hugely condescending, and I shouldn't do it because when I say as you know, what I'm really saying to someone, whether it's in a negotiation or just in a conversation, is listen, idiot, I don't want to have to say this again. If you don't know this, it should be sort of imputed knowledge. So it's really said negatively, and I will try to cut that out of my speech patterns.
But do you recall what both of you said to us on As You Know? Because I don't know, but I didn't know when you said it. And in both instances, both of you were saying something that I thought was obscure enough that the audience and me did not know, would not know, could not be expected to know. I may have that wrong. I did kind of stop listening because it was so condescending.
David, are you in a retirement home?
No, I'm in the Otis Saga Hotel in Cooperstown, not a retirement home.
Oh, nice drapes.
It's a place where Hall of Famers are. So I agree with you. It looks on the old side. It is on the old side.
I'm telling you right now,
You're on a wooden chair.
The furniture behind you is so very Cooperstown. It smells from here like Cooperstown. I feel like somebody in the 1930s has sat in that chair after being on a train riding across the country with Dizzy Dean.
I had the weirdest thing happen in my room today. Is that while I was in the bathroom and getting ready for my shows and going to sleep, I was thinking about which Hall of Famers were in this room, because this is where the Hall of Famers stay when they get inducted in July, and all the Hall of Famers come back, and we're here today to introduce the new class of Hall of Famers. And I never think this way, because I always want to assume I'm the first tuchus to be in any room I'm in, because otherwise it's too gross. But I was thinking, like, what if Johnny Bench like squatted right here, and I assume that something happened just like that in
that
this room.
hotel. Just visually, definitely haunted. Like there has absolutely been ghost ass on that toilet.
David,
Call it the Nutmobile.
David, as you know, there is a controversy surrounding The Brutalist and its use of post-production AI to refine some of the Hungarian accents, which affects the performance and how we perceive them of some of these actors directly. And it may actually cost The Brutalist a Best Picture, because it seemed like all the momentum was going towards that. But now you're going to have an AI debate surrounding one of the most critically acclaimed films of the year. What's your take on this?
Yeah, there are people in the industry who know the truth about this, which is that sort of AI engagement has been going on for a long time. And somehow it just came out, and you'd have to wonder, what is it a coincidence that it's around The Brutalist, which is obviously a controversial topic. It's a 3.5-hour movie that will make people examine things they prefer not to examine. But the movies, and as you know, Mike, there's a lot of fake stuff in the movies. As a matter of fact, everything is fake. Now, Tom Cruise may do his own stunts. Good for him. But there's a lot of stuff going on in Mission Impossible that may not exactly be as it seems. And the way movies are edited and cut and the way in which they're filmed, it's all meant to make the audience think something is happening for art's sake that's actually not happening. And if you think AI, the whole reason for the strikes was what AI was going to be used for. And if you take it even further, could AI replace certain things? And the answer is it certainly can, and it will.
Put it on the poll, please, Juju, at Le Batard Show. What would you be more likely to drive, a Porsche Candiati or a Lamborghini Scalabrini? At Le Batard Show, which one of those two automobiles would you be more likely to drive? David, I know that the audience and everyone here is tired of Jimmy Butler stuff. Do you have anything interesting that you believe is not being said at this trough of Pat Riley's way is being undermined from the inside in a way? And one of the reasons this show is reacting this way is because we've never seen it before.
I just hope Pat Riley stands his ground, actually. I hope that he tells the other teams, whether it's Phoenix, it doesn't matter who, that this is the package he wants and he won't take anything less. And if Phoenix can go out and get it from Utah and myriad other teams and deliver to Pat a huge win for his franchise, then I'm happy to trade Jimmy. Otherwise, I'm happy to let him sit. Shooting 9 shots a game, playing 24 minutes a game, suspend him for whatever he does and try to save the money for Mickey. I'm in on all of it. I think that Pat Riley is over player empowerment, and he is manifesting this sort of angst and sick of it, and he's doing it all directed toward Jimmy, and I'm here for it. But in terms of his team and our team, I hope that he does not give in and trade Jimmy without getting back what he wants.
Jeremy, would you look something up for me, please? Because I should make a correction. While I've never seen it happen to Pat Riley in Miami, I did see it happen to him in New York. One of the famous funny stories is Anthony Mason was one of his players. Anthony Mason, Jay Fiedler's brother, at Le Batard Show. Put that on the poll. Did you know that Anthony Mason and Jay Fiedler were brothers? At Le Batard Show. He was having all sorts of problems with Anthony Mason. He suspends Anthony Mason, or there was a fight or something, and Anthony Mason was seen at a time that people thought he should be taking basketball very seriously in the audience of the Ricky Lake show. And this was a very big controversy in New York that Pat Riley couldn't get control of Anthony Mason. Look up the details for me on that, because Anthony Mason had a number of different conflicts. It's what he's doing, David. What you said he's doing appears to be what he is doing. And I was just talking about what a misery it would be to step into that place. Like, I understand the player's got the power and stuff, and the player will make a mess, but man, what a misery. Like, if Jimmy Butler thought he wasn't having joy playing basketball before, to show up to work just to collect your paycheck so that your entire team could be looking for things you're doing wrong so that they could suspend you again, like, that's a horseshit situation to be in, to be walking into every day as an employee.
Haven't you ever been in an atmosphere in a relationship where people are separated or divorced but living in the same house for whatever financial reason, or people at work who don't get along but show up just to get their paycheck, and you can tell who those people are, that they're trying very hard not to do anything so they get suspended or they get fired? This happens in every workplace in the world, and basketball is no exception to that. And the thing is, in sports, we try to give in to players so much because we're worried about PR. Well, Pat Riley, with age and with success, hopefully is getting back to the point where his give-a-shit meter has lowered to the point where he doesn't get impacted by anyone saying or thinking anything about what he's doing. And that's why I think Jimmy Butler should just rot at the end of the bench. I wouldn't trade him even if I got the package I wanted for spite alone.
Oh,
but
my
I think
God.
I'm just telling you what I would do to Jimmy Butler for what he's doing to Pat Riley if I were Pat Riley. But I think Pat understands that if he can get the exact right package, he'll take it.
David, in your time with the Marlins, I wonder if you ever had a player who presented to you a Butler-type situation.
So the minute we left, Greg, Christian Yelich did it to Derek Jeter, and Derek Jeter sent Christian Yelich to the Brewers in what became one of the worst trades the franchise has done, except for the ones I did. And that was a major thing when the player doesn't want to be there. And Derek Jeter actually went public saying, I don't want players around who don't want to be here. Stanton many times said to me that he wanted to be traded. He wasn't happy with the direction of the franchise. And we had just said to him, we're not trading you. As a matter of fact, we're going to offer you so much money that we're going to make you stay here forever. And which is what we did. So there were players throughout, but a lot of them were side players, like a Jeff Baker, who is just a miserable, unhappy player. And what you do in that case is just release him.
David, good seeing you. Thank you. The podcast is Nothing Personal. I urge you to check it out, no matter where he is in the world, even if it's a haunted hotel in Cooperstown. He is doing it daily. Thank you, sir. Appreciate the time.
Take care.
I should have mentioned to him, and I will tell the audience, he did some very good work on Ichiro. He knows Ichiro, and I know that Greg Cody had his Hall of Fame ballot and was passionate about it, and we never got to yesterday all of the arguments that were breaking out all over the studio about an assortment of things. I heard you telling your son that you regret not voting for Juan Pierre. I thought you mishandled yesterday's show. I thought you creating the illusion that you were the voter who had snubbed Ichiro, the one vote that didn't make it unanimous for Ichiro. We still don't know who that voter is, correct? I believe that that voter has been called a numbskull by John Heyman, protector of the Hall of Fame and all sacred baseball things. And that voter hasn't been smoked out yet, correct? So that people can shame him or her for his or her terrible vote?
What are you willing to call them? Are you willing to go to dipshit?
Well, Greg Cody has a list, thank you for asking, Jessica, that is expanding throughout the show. Stugotz was helping him with it. It used to be a top 5 list of old people insults because numbskull is very good, but now we're ready to do top 10. Top 10 Greg Cody old people insults. Any OLI, or are we going straight to number 10?
We've cut out all the fat. We're getting right to the meat.
All right. Number 10.
Dipshit.
What is that?
Strong 10.
What is that?
It's a good question. We're on it.
A guy who doesn't vote for Ichiro to be in the Hall of Fame.
Nice. Okay.
I've got other questions like this because I put it on the poll. Do you know what a dipshit actually is? Because I don't know it as anything other than an insult. But I was thinking the other day out of nowhere on Mother Bleeper. Is that someone who bleeps mothers or screws them over? Like, which Mother Bleeper is someone who has sex with mothers or just screws them over? Someone who betrays mothers. I don't know which one of those two things it is.
I lean betrayal.
Do you?
Yeah, I think I would too.
You guys don't. You don't. Okay. I would have assumed that that's someone who's having sex with mothers.
Then that would be a compliment. That'd be a cool guy.
Would it be?
That motherfucker.
In this country?
Oedipus.
So in the 1930s, dip didn't just mean like dipping something into something. It also was a slang term that meant fool or simpleton. So it was just basically combining that. With
So a fool dipped in shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Number 9.
Doofus.
Number 8.
Blockhead.
I
Blockhead's
think
ahead of
that's
dipshit.
Head of
extinct.
dipshit.
Hey, it's my list. Get your own.
Fair enough.
Number 7.
Buffoon.
Number 6.
Numbskull.
5.
Loon.
That's very high. 4.
Fiend.
That's made a comeback. Number 3.
Nitwit.
That's a good one. What is a nitwit? What is just
I got your back.
It's just something that
Nit
rhymes
as
with
in
wit.
No wit.
Number 2.
Feels like this could have been a top 5.
Gutter snipe.
What?
Gutter snipe.
Put it on the poll, please, Juju. Have you ever heard the insult gutter snipe? Number 1. That's very high.
Nincompoop.
Nit comes from the Dutch word meaning nothing or not, combined with wit, which is,
No
signifying
wit.
one's
You got it.
intelligence.
Yes.
Witless.
Very good at origin words, I guess.
Put it on the poll, please, Juju, at Le Batard Show. I think the audience is going to side with me on this. I also think it's not something the audience has considered. Mother bleeper, ? Someone who bleeps mothers or bleeps them over at Le Batard Show.
I got your back. Hang on.
Thank you, Mike. I do appreciate you chasing all of these things down. Like the old days, it feels good. It feels good to just have Mike Ryan chase things around for me.
Honestly, AI has made this so much easier.
Where did you land, Cody, on Ichiro? Because one of the things that I have been trying to celebrate in sports around here over the last, I'm going to say, 10 years of watching everything become content, argument, culture, everything is to be complained about in sports instead of celebrating, is just that we're living in an era of real mastery. Like to see LeBron postering people at 40 is crazy. Even as LeBron and Anthony Davis are saying we don't have enough help, it's just crazy to see Ohtani doing what he's doing after seeing Serena Williams do what she did. But what Ichiro did as mastery, because it came from another land and because he wasn't revealing in interviews and it could be hard to traverse the cultural language barrier, I don't think that people understand what we're talking about with what Ichiro could do with a baseball bat that had no precedent in the sport. I remember being in a clubhouse one time with Rafael Palmeiro and a baseball bat. And he is holding the baseball bat and he's bouncing the baseball on the baseball bat, and he could do it for an hour.
Like Tiger did with like a
he
ball?
could do it for an hour because he just knows how to land the ball on the part of the bat that he wishes it to hit. And Ichiro was more than whatever that mastery is. Like when I'm watching this documentary between Greg Maddux and Barry Bonds, and I'm watching the two of them talk about the level of expertise that we're talking about here, it's something that you'd hear from LeBron on his JJ Redick podcast, which is better partnership than the one they have in basketball. What Ichiro did professionally from another land is a bit of one of these mysteries where you're like, I don't understand how he was able to combine the arts from his homeland on discipline to do something that is a failure game, and he failed at it less than most because of how he could control a baseball bat.
I've got the origin of Mother Bleeper. So it's not actually bleeping one's mother. It was used like, you know how you have a huge battle, the mother of all battles? This Sunday we have the mother of all AFC games. So what this signifies is you are essentially the mother of all bleepers.
How about that?
That's a stunner right there.
ChatGPT, man.
People say they don't learn anything from this show. I'm saying everyone in the audience just learned that right now. I'm saying there's not a person who knew that out there, not one human being out
A
there.
little conflicted morally because of how great ChatGPT is in terms of an efficient search engine, but with every question that I ask it, it only gets more powerful.
Sometimes it is just wrong, though.
And I was like, yeah, I asked it, hey, can you give me some great television shows with a comma in it? And it gave me Friday Night Lights. And I'm like, ChatGPT, you're wrong.
So it's like mark too.
ChatGPT was like, you're right. I do have that wrong. I'm like, hold up.
So it's like Greg Cody. It's just like, look it up.
This is the first step to you falling in love with ChatGPT.
It's happening.
It's overrated.
Some
Google it.
I read an article. Some lonely people are falling in love with AI boyfriends because they just need a companion.
When you Google, there's AI too, Greg. So at this point, we have no information. And they're going to get rid of Wikipedia, so that's good too.
Okay. Yeah, Wikipedia's been trying to beg money for years now, huh? Whenever you go on it. No, Ichiro, in my 10 or 12 years voting, Ichiro and Derek Jeter have been the most perfect candidates imaginable. And it is funny, though, the fact that he didn't get one vote. He was one vote from being unanimous, and now it's a national scandal. Ridiculous. We don't agree with anything in this country. You could ask, do you believe in...
This is a new and unimproved Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz. Gamble on by DraftKings.